What's up, guys? Larry Chen here. Welcome to another episode of Hoonigan Autofocus. Today we're at Jamie Orr's Volkswagen shop. Hi.
Hi.
Don't mind the really rare and a massive amount of wheels behind him.
We're not even talking about that right
Yeah,
now.
we're not going to talk about that, even though I would love to. I think we can spend a lot of time on that. But if you guys want to watch the overall video of his shop tour, definitely check that out. But we actually wanted to focus on this. This is kind of just from what you've told me so far, in the 30 seconds you've explained some things to me, this is like something one-off. This is like the Jamie Orr special, right? What is this?
So this is a concept car from Volkswagen. This is based on a Crossport, which is made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, but they don't really have a halt version. They don't have a go faster version. So they have the R line, which looks sporty, but not a genuine go faster version. So with all their market research, they came to me and were like, hey, build us a concept car. Work with the factory, work with the other manufacturers, the suppliers, and just build what you think a GT would be. So it's sporty, it's luxurious, blah, blah, blah. Just crush all that together, more power, bigger brakes, whatever you think goes into it, and just make your own model, which we might sell if people like it.
Well, okay, because the thing is, this, as you said, it's made in the US. Do they even have this in Germany?
No. So I built one, took it over there, took it on the Nürburgring, and they just don't have them because they're really big cars. I mean,
yeah, it's kind of like people taking Toyota Tundras and importing them into Japan, and it's like way too big for the roads,
Yep.
but it's still a Toyota. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. So this is made here. They're sold in Russia. They're sold in China. They're made in China as well. But there wasn't a go faster version. So Volkswagen just said, look, here's what we'd like. Talk to our product planning team, talk to the suppliers, and this is what we would like, this is what we don't like, and just run with it. So I got to work with Recaro for the interior. They make a 5-seater version of this, and then on the bigger version, you can get a 6-seater or a 7-seater. So I made this into a 4-seater. So this is the Crossport, it's the more sporty version. So now it has 4 Recaros inside, matching center consoles, front and rear. We modified the floor a little bit for that. It then has 300 and high 300 horsepower. I was told by the factory, don't hit 400.
Okay, I love that Volkswagen. Mr. Volkswagen's like, hey, Jamie, don't hit this certain amount of horsepower. But okay, so what did this actually start life as?
So like the body shell is a Crossport. So it started as a Volkswagen Crossport that you can go and buy today in a dealership. They have 2 engine options, a 4-cylinder turbo or a 280 horsepower V6 version, VR6, and all of them have a standard automatic transmission. Mm-hmm. None of them are this color. This is a one-off factory paint job in a kind of more obscure European color. So it's ice Vogel blue. So this is the only one painted in the factory this color.
Okay, so I mean, did it come to you as a body in white first, or what?
No, I went back and forth to the factory. I was working inside the factory. We saw this go down the production line. They then pulled it off before the paint shop, painted it this one color, and then put it back on the production line. So I'm like a kid in the candy store running around the factory like, your job's to do up this bolt? Oh, that's so cool. I love your job. And they just let me run free.
Well, because this is rare in that a lot of times when people do build these concept videos outside of the factory, they actually have to have a production vehicle to start with, right? And then potentially they have to strip the paint,
sure,
or whatever to rebuild it,
yep,
right, into a concept car, race car, or show car. But the fact that you've gone to the source,
yeah,
you know, to the point where you're even on the assembly line helping them. So once it got to this point, once it got to a finished point, did you take it here to finish it?
So a really bizarre day for me. I went to the factory and there was the CEO of the factory, because it's run as a separate business and he handles everything there. And he inspected it. He went into a full inspection room alone and went over every single panel gap and everything and gave his okay. And I met him, gave him a small gift as a Volkswagen nerd, said thanks for all his work and everything. And then I proceeded to undo all of their work. I took out the engine, the transmission, the shifter. I took off all the body panels. So they made this absolute hand-built perfect car, and then I undid half of their work, which was a shame, but we also knew that it started absolutely perfectly, which then as a car person makes me terrified that every time I touch it, well, that could be another scratch in the clear coat or something. But then before this video is released, but after today, I'm gonna travel to the factory with this under complete secrecy. So no one's allowed to see it, can't be sitting outside, can't be test driven outside. I'm gonna present it to Scott Keel, the CEO of Volkswagen, and then we're gonna present it together to the factory to thank them for all of their hard work making this possible, and then the world gets to see it. So literally you and your crew are hanging out with this, and we filmed it last week in California, 3,500 miles away, where it was trucked in an enclosed trailer to keep it secret. So this project's nuts.
Okay, the interesting thing to me is I've shot a couple Atlases. Actually, I shot 2 for Volkswagen that were at the SEMA show that
So
were
you did
built.
like Tanner Faust raised one.
Yeah, they're built more for off-road, right? Overlanding, it had a tent
Sure.
and all of that. But you flipped it completely, and while they built this for utility, they built this for space, and they built this for light off-roading, you completely flipped it. Now this is performance. It's a little lowered. You have some apt, right? Is that
Yep.
is that how you say it?
It
Apt.
is, well done. No
So
ABT, apt.
apt wheels on it. So tell me, like exterior wise, what did you change?
So going back half a conversation, I had a pre-production one during COVID, and I drove it coast to coast slammed. Like I just slammed it on KWs, put it on 22-inch wheels, on tiny little rubber band tires. I drove it through a snowstorm. I camped in the snow. I camped in the desert. I took it on a track day with KW out in California. I did 10,000 miles on one of these, scraping on the ground. Yes, they can go off-road. Yeah, the industry loves overlanding as marketing, but how many people are really doing that? And so for me, when you see the adverts with these when they're in Vegas, and they're like, oh, it's so luxurious, and the price point is great, and it's so quiet, and handles great. I'm like, absolutely, the chassis is phenomenal. So yeah, it'll handle going off-road, but how many people are really, really gonna do that compared to realizing that, hey, you can have a modern crossover and enjoy it for being the MQB platform, because this is the same chassis as a Golf R. So if you're driving a Golf R on the track, so I literally drove it across mountain passes in the middle of winter through snowstorms, just testing it and just pushing it, and nobody had any idea why I was doing this. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you're driving an SUV an inch off the ground. Like, yes, I am an idiot, but I'm also doing it to test it and see what it can do.
Essentially, this is just a way bigger Golf R then.
Somewhat, yes. It is literally the engine mounting points. Everything there is all identical. So the same suspension, the same geometry, etc. They then push it and spend billions of dollars re-engineering the chassis for whatever they need, but that same central MQB platform chassis is the same across most of their models, and that platform is so damn good, it just means that the underpinnings are going to be pretty similar. So that's...
Okay, so from just a regular Atlas that you can buy off the showroom floor, exterior-wise, what's different?
Pretty similar, other than full painted blackout trim, everything else there. I went through the parts bin, got the different badging. This is from a Golf GTE Mark 8 in Europe. I got the file from the factory designers to 3D print my own, and then I realized that, oh hey, they already make GT in a blue. Well, I'm gonna save all those hours and not bother. But the money shot is inside with the quad Recaros, four-seater,
Wow.
floor pan.
No way. Have you seen anything like this in another car?
Lamborghini Urus, which is also a Volkswagen product. I mean, so no, in a Volkswagen, I'm sure somebody's done it somewhere, but no, this is my OEM quality, to the point that from Volkswagen Accessories, I worked with their OEM manufacturer to make the blue trim, that Recaro sent the samples of their thread and blue color. And I worked with Recaro, so this pattern is based on their Nürburgring edition seats. I worked with their engineers. I'm like, I want them to be heated and cooled. They're like, well, we don't do that in the cooling. I'm like, we'll use this material. And on the conference call, you could hear the engineers be like, hey, can we do that? Wait, yeah, I think Jamie's right. I'm like, I know I am. Like, I'm a nerd.
You're our kind of nerd. You're the nerd that we absolutely appreciate. And we love, I mean, it's like, why? Well, why not? It's kind of incredible.
Might be sold. You might be able to go and buy one at the dealership and buy a 4-seater, go faster with the GT badging. So for me, I mean, you'll see we just pushed the cars out because some of them didn't start.
Look, I mean, even...
Well, that's factory.
But that's the point, you know what I mean? Like, it's done down, you don't actually have to worry about the door jams or anything because of the fact that you went all the way back to the source. I mean,
100%.
How further can you go? You can't. Well, I guess you could.
Which is what the purple caddy is.
Okay, let's talk about that outside. But, all right, so let's put this down and then can we take a look at the...
Closes.
Yeah, can we take a look at the engine bay?
Sure.
This is...
Although, before you get there, I went so overboard on this. Like
Yeah.
the hand-painted steering wheel, the signature,
Hold on,
literally
let's look at
the
this.
only non-Volkswagen piece, if you look on the top of the shift knob, it has my signature on there. It's my own, I don't put stickers on cars.
Right.
But I did that, and then I literally had nightmares over the seatbelt color. Literally. So if you look,
You're tossing and turning?
it matches the exterior paint.
I
As
love
a
this.
contrast. I literally had a nightmare, which ended in me getting stabbed. I literally died over the decision in my dream, and that's when I was like, I got to work a few less hours on this. And that's because I had the exact same blue as the Recaro seats.
The passion is unbelievable. The passion that is oozing out of you for cars and for Volkswagens and for car culture is unlike. You're again, you're one of us. This is the thing. I appreciate this so much. I mean, like you see this on special Porsche GT cars. You know, that's like it's so cool to see the red, yellow, whatever color seatbelts. But you've added it to this. So tell me, what transmission is this then?
So let me pop the hood.
Yeah.
This was a ZF 8-speed automatic, which, to really nerd out, used a Linbus shift controller, and I changed it to the DQ500, which is what the TTRS, the RS3, and various European cars come with. So people are running 8-9 seconds on these transmissions, which this car won't be able to do. It should do a 4 seconds 0 to 60, but I know it can handle the torque. So that was the main thing. And it's such a buttery smooth transmission, or you can beat the hell out of it. So for both strength and for shifting, I knew I wanted to do it. I don't think it's worth saying, oh, I'm the first to do it, but I didn't know anyone else. So doing the swap was a huge nightmare. I flew in an engineer from the Volkswagen factory. We spent dozens of hours trying to get the coding to work properly. In the end, the Volkswagen mothership in Germany rewrote the code for it and rewrote the component protection, the immobilization, so that this car is the only one on their database that allows this transmission to work factory in it. And so me to have that backing is phenomenal.
Okay, you just did a mic drop on every single tuner. Like my friends at VF Engineering, like everybody that is trying to tune these new cars who could only wish to have this kind of factory backing to crack codes, to do engine swaps, to all of that.
I do have to pinch myself on it. And yeah, I mean, it's super unique. This car literally has an exemption from the EPA. So Volkswagen have registered it as being non-compliant. So the legal implications, everything. This is a concept car. But an engineer flew to Philly at 4 o'clock in the morning, the day that I was like, hey, we can't do this. We can't do this remotely. And he's like, get me a flight. And 4 hours later, he was on a flight from the factory out to me and just spent 2 days just trying to hack this with Germany.
And then when he walked in here and he saw this, he was probably like...
No, he was one of us.
Okay.
He's like, he owns his own like tuned cars, and everyone in the factory that knew about it was like, how can we help you? And so that was phenomenal. And I think that people are like, oh, manufacturers, not just Volkswagen, anybody, Honda, whatever. Oh, they don't care or whatever. They do. They have a lot of their own jobs to do. So doing this was above and beyond. But the fact that they were able to help, I think hopefully brightened up their day during COVID and everything. And that's one of the points of this car, is that it is teamwork. yes, it's me here kind of alone for a lot of hours, but it is a lot of other people helping, and hopefully is something that we can show that the factory did this.
Okay, so tell me, what is this engine out of? What can you find this engine in?
So this is in a European Golf R. So factory 300-ish horsepower. It's now making 390-ish, but this was born as a 6-cylinder, and I love the VR6. It's the same motor that's in that little one, but pushing that up to the horsepower that I wanted it to be and where I think the factory could go. I think the 4-cylinders, they're kind of the future. Everyone has a 2-liter turbo now. The new Golf R, the big brother of this, will be 315 horsepower. So from a concept perspective of what I think the factory would produce, this motor made sense in what could actually go into production. Me throwing a turbo on the VR6, cool. Factory's not going to do that. And there's a Chinese market one, but again, that coming over, being EPA'd and then making more power, it just wasn't realistic. So I took out the 6-cylinder, went down to the 4, and then pushed its power, which is what I believe is more realistic. Trying to make this, as an enthusiast, as someone that's just a nerd, the idea of someone going to a dealership and buying this, buying a GT, and like, I made that. That
the
was,
Atlas GT. Well, because this, most modern cars now, more modern manufacturers, they're trying to push the whole turbo thing, right? Ford has gone with the EcoBoost.
Yes.
It just makes more sense. More
Emissions,
power,
economy,
emissions, exactly.
sure.
All of that. So then, with that, and it's the same thing with electric cars, with it being more efficient and with it being electrified, or not this, but in general, cars being electrified, there's the performance aspect of it, which we enjoy. That's kind of the fun part of it, and that's the nice thing. And when I look at this, and when I say it looks factory, that's not even fair to say. You can't say that because essentially it was factory, and you've just massaged it to make it your own, I guess.
They're all Legos. I just took a whole bunch of different factory parts from all over the world and just slammed them all together. The only thing that's not factory in here right now, to go behind the scenes, there's one wire. There's one wire. Making the security system and bypassing it, we did a lot of tricks, and that one wire is like a master override, which I will never ever share how that's done, but that wire, I can make this thing kind of do whatever we want. So before it goes to the factory, I have more finishing up to do, a little bit more to do in the carpet, seat bracket shifter, things like that. But the only thing in here that isn't factory, but yeah, every single wire, I had another local tuner, Matt from Eurocraft, who did the motor wiring on that. He came over and we just sat here for 2 or 3 days just de-pinning every single thing because we had to, every damn wire in the engine bay is being replaced.
All right, so tell me about the wheel and tire setup then.
So these are factory apps, so you can buy these with the Aerodisc. The original set were 10,000 euros with carbon Aerodiscs, and then they released this version with the individual Aerodiscs. And I knew I needed something fairly quick and unique, but kind of off the shelf, because I didn't have time to make a 2 or a 3 piece of the original wheels or something. So these come just plain blacks. So these were out in California, one of the OEM Volkswagen suppliers, hand sanded every single individual piece, painted at factory color, because they're a factory supplier. So if you buy a genuine accessories rear spoiler, it's painted in Volkswagen paint by this tier 1 supplier. So even this paint is factory approved. This is factory paint.
Wow. Yeah, we actually had a chance to drive a Apt RS5 in Germany, and it had like a factory colored disc like this.
Oh wait, they factory colored it?
I think so.
Son of a gun!
I don't
know.
I don't know.
Special.
Maybe
thought
not.
I was unique.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making things up.
I
Maybe
believe it.
Maybe I'm having nightmares like you or whatever. But with that said, it looks so good, and it really kind of sets off. This is a kind of a thought or just a concept that I think about all the time with wheels. How many more times can you reinvent the wheel, It's just like when in terms of music, how many more beats can they come up with? Well, honestly, unlimited, really. Like, I look at this, and this is completely so unique. It's just a different take on something that originally was built for race cars.
I agree, and I spent a lot of time thinking about that as well. And the music analogy is spot on. That it's just, there's nothing new under the sun, but it's just what we can build upon.
Yeah.
So I think, coloring wheels, whatever, that's been done. I mean, it's been a trend for 40 years or whatever. And then the manufacturers now do their little red or blue stripe or whatever. But yeah, it's just building upon that and learning and looking around. So I love doing that. Would I like to have pushed this further? Probably. But within the time and the budget, and there's so much other stuff, this is what I decided on is feasible.
This ride height is perfect too. It's actually running on ST suspension.
Yeah, it's running on the ST Custom, so it has color matte springs that no one will ever see, with Concept GT printing on it that no one will ever see, but it makes me so happy. And I posted a story of them on Instagram, but I can't show the color. So it was black and white, which kind of negated the point. But yeah, there's just so many things throughout this build that nobody will ever see. But that, again, just makes me so happy. And the fact that they offer that, I mean, they're basically hand building the suspension to order. So why not spend an extra $100 and get them color matched and your name on them or whatever?
And then you have some serious stopping power too here.
Yeah, so those are 8 pistons, tiny little pistons, so they work with the original brake master cylinder. I did have a set on these cross country, and I showed up to that KW track day, and literally my friends were like, everyone's talking crap on you. Like, who's this idiot in an SUV? These are guys in Porsche GT3s, MX-5s, but all the way up to Lamborghinis or Corvette C8s and stuff. And they're kind of like mocking you a little bit. I'm like, that's cool, like I'm just here to have fun. And then I went out and I didn't crush him, I didn't win any races, but I was able to outbrake people, and I was able to surprise a whole lot of people. And in fact, Hoonigan did a ride along, and they couldn't believe how well this handled, like, because it's that Golf R, it's the MQB platform. So yeah, it's not a truck, it's not a just SUV thrown together. There are billions and billions of dollars in chassis development in this. So once you lower it, give it some power, it rocks.
Right. Yeah, so unfortunately, this vehicle is a concept vehicle, and there's an embargo. By the time you guys watch this, it will be released, but we can't take it out onto the street. But luckily, Louis and Luis had a chance to shoot it on Willow Springs. I think, did Tanner Faust drive this too?
Tanner Faust drove this at 10/10.
Really?
Yeah. Tanner Faust beat the crap out of this with a AMG Mercedes camera car chasing it, and the camera car was going across the dirt to keep up. I had not driven this at all until 10 p.m. the night before. Zero.
And then it was with these tires? Well, he like folded them over, huh?
We literally washed the dirt off yesterday, and there's marks on the paint. Like, there's literal, so before this goes to the factory, I have a month to undo Tanner's dirt from all over the chassis.
Thanks, Tanner.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah, we're calling it Tanner tested.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tanner has no chill, and I mean, I know him pretty well. Like, when I showed him how to make it start and how to make it shift at that point, because we literally 10 p.m. the night before at a secret Volkswagen facility, finished, made it run, and drove it around the parking lot. It had not been over 50 miles an hour when I got to Willow Springs, tested it myself, and then gave Tanner the keys.
Jeez.
So
that is unbelievable. What a beautiful vehicle. What a beautiful build. This is, I have to give you a compliment. Like, the way it looks, the way it sits, what more would you want to modify on this? You know, I mean, yeah, potentially if somebody were, I'm talking to you, Fish, if you were to get this, yeah, you'll probably get some more power out of it, whatever. But in terms of the look of it, he's gonna order it in white.
Sure.
but in terms of the look of it, my joke is most performance cars, when you buy it, the wheels that come with it are just to get to your place. And then once it gets to your place, you can put your choice of wheels on them, you know?
Yeah, and I don't, realistically, are we going to get painted aero discs? Probably not, because they're going to be impossible to wash daily, and Would the ride height be an inch taller? Sure. So this is still a concept, but I don't think it's too far off. I try not to go too far away from what would be in the showroom. So that rear center console, I think that would be exactly the same or very close. Will it have 4 Recaros of that design? Probably not, but could it have the same color belts? Could it have the same steering wheel? Could it have a sportier color seat? Sure. Now, I'm sure Apt and Recaro would be very happy if Volkswagen came along and did spec it, but.
Right. Here. Just, oh, I love this. It's such a cool little feature. Can I sit in it?
Yeah.
I see it's dirty still from Tanner.
Oh, yeah, I've taken the good
Already.
seatbelts out, so you're fine.
But,
so while
It's
it's still a
comfortable.
concept, if you open that center console,
Yeah.
you can see how concept it is.
whoa.
That's the real shifter.
Okay. I love that you just stored it in here.
Oh, no, it's connected.
Oh.
If you want to shift it, lift it up, and that's how you shift right now. This is real behind the scenes.
You're kidding.
Nope. Because the original
So what is
shifter,
this? What is this?
that
It's just not
communicates by
connected?
LIN bus, which cannot communicate with this transmission. And I didn't have time to build a complete new custom shifter, so I installed the DSG, which uses CAN bus, in the center console. So that's it. Tanner had that face that you have right now, and I'm like,
That's why. I mean, that's why when you were telling me that you had to teach Tanner how to shift it, I'm like, how hard could it be? You know?
Yep.
Okay, so is this something that you're potentially going
before
to?
it goes, yes, it's not finished before it goes to the factory yet, but we had the deadline for the film shoot in California, so I just made it work. And
Yeah.
a lot of the real concepts from all manufacturers are like this.
Honestly, so much of it is that it's a time thing, you know, because I know with your work and just the quality of your work and the attention to detail, you can eventually make it work, right?
I've already solved it. The parts are now here.
Right.
So
Of course they are.
Yeah, but I had to make a decision on what to attack and what not to attack, and so on your video, your guys out there at the track or on photos had no idea that
Yeah.
it was tucked in there, and I'm not proud of it. It's just a funny anecdote, and I think it's kind of keeping it real in a way that, yeah, it's so much work.
It's that's what it's showing, you know. I think that's great. Yeah, and this body matched is super cool. It's just a small little touch.
I like, so the shift knob's from Black Forest. The material on the shift knob is from Recaro. Recaro sent their material out to all, yep. And the thread is from Recaro. So again, handmade by Black Forest Industries in North Carolina using the materials hand finished by Recaro in Michigan. So it's just all, I spent so much time on every.
And is this aluminum too underneath here?
So that's, yeah, CNC'd in-house at BFI. And it looks like a manual shift knob, but if you lift it up, that's how you do the automatic lock.
Oh, got it.
So there's no button to shift out of park.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's actually really nice, though. I
Yeah,
mean, I think
entirely designed by
it's
them.
It's a lot cleaner, and all of this is CNC'd.
Yeah.
It feels really nice. It has like a soft touch to it.
It's Alcantara, because to be weird, I don't use leather in my cars. And yeah.
Okay.
There's so much. So I don't want anyone to think that I ignored the shifter to worry about the thread color, but I worried about them all equally, and it does run and drive.
Okay, well, thank you so much for showing us this vehicle.